Great morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual class in Thesis Writing 1, BAM 6401. So the topic for this session is about data gathering. We are now in week 8 of our trimester. Okay, let us go back. We have already discussed about the research design, local, and last week, the participants or respondents of the study, the population, sample size, and sampling technique. So for today, we will discuss the instrument of the study, the survey questionnaire, and about validating and establishing reliability. So for next week, data gathering procedure and statistical treatment of data. Okay, so section objectives at the end of the session, the student should be able to identify different data collection methods, differentiate quantitative from qualitative data, understand when to use questionnaire and interview, design survey questions, understand reliability and validity. So when we talk of data collection, it is a systematic process of gathering observations or measurements. Whether you are performing research for business, governmental, or academic purposes, data collection allows you to gain first-hand knowledge and original insights into your research problem. While methods and aims may differ between fields, the overall process of data collection remains largely the same. So before you begin collecting data, you need to consider the aim of your research, the type of data that you will collect, the methods and procedures you will use to collect, store, and process the data. So based on the data you want to collect, decide which method is best suited for your research. Experimental research is primarily a quantitative method. Interview, focus groups, and ethnography are qualitative methods. Surveys, observations, archival research, and secondary data collection can be quantitative or qualitative methods. So carefully consider what method you will use to gather data. It helps you directly answer your research questions. So kaya tayo mag-gather ng data para makakuha tayo ng enough information para ma-achieve ang ating objective, para ma-answer yung ating research question. So these are the methods: experiment, survey, interview or focus group, and observation. You have to be familiar with all. So when to use experimental method? To test a causal relationship, cause and effect. So if you are using the effect of this variable to this variable, that is experiment method. So manipulate variables and measure their effects on the others. So what will happen is that if there is a change in the independent variable or the cause, what will be the effect to the dependent variable? Survey, to understand the general characteristics or opinions of a group of people. How to collect, distribute a list of questions to a sample online, in person, or over the phone. So, gagamit tayo dito ng survey questionnaire. Interview or focus group, to gain an in-depth understanding of perceptions or opinions on a topic. So how to collect? Verbally ask participants open-ended questions in individual interviews or focus group discussions. Observation to understand something in its natural setting. So how to collect, measure, or survey a sample without trying to affect them. So these are the collection methods. Now, surveys. Surveys are used as a method of gathering data in many different fields. They're a good choice when you want to find out about the characteristics, preferences, opinions, or beliefs of a group of people. The common uses of survey research include social research, investigating the experiences and characteristics of different social groups. Market research, finding out what customers think about products, services, and companies. Health research, collecting data from patients about symptoms and treatments. In politics, measuring public opinion about parties and policies. And in psychology, researching personality traits, preferences, and behaviors. So sa atin, business students kayo, so dapat ang ating research ay more on business-related topics. There are two main types of surveys, sabi nga natin. Questionnaire, interview. Questionnaire where a list of questions is distributed by mail, online or in person, and respondents fill out themselves. I don't know if you have already experienced when dining in a restaurant, binibigyan kayo sometimes ng mga short notes para mag-evaluate. Evaluate ng price, evaluate ng food quality, evaluate ng ambience, ng kanilang service. Yan. So these are questionnaires. For yung intention nun ay para makuha, just like in my example, ang inyong feedback. An interview, on the other hand, the researcher asks a set of questions by phone or in person and records the response. So, interview katulad ng ginagawa nila Karen Davila, nila Boy Abunda. So, in-depth interview. So, ang points, nanganganak-anak, may mga follow-up questions. Which type you choose depends on the sample size and location, as well as the focus of the research. For an undergraduate thesis, it should be quantitative research. So, pwede siyang descriptive, comparative, descriptive correlational, descriptive evaluative, pero more on quantitative para ma-generalize natin sa total population. Whatever result can be generalized. In terms of questionnaires, pwedeng mail, online, and in person. So kapag mail, sending out a paper survey by mail is a common method of gathering demographic information. For example, in a government census of the population. You can easily access a large sample. You can have some control over who is included in the sample. For example, residents of a specific region. However, the response rate is often low. Tsaka with the advent of Google Forms, hindi natin kailangan magpadala sa snail mail. Online. Online surveys are a popular choice for students doing dissertation or thesis research due to the low cost and flexibility of this method. There are many online tools available for constructing surveys, such as SurveyMonkey and Google Forms. Advantages: you can quickly access a large sample without constraints on time or location. The data is easy to process and analyze. The disadvantage: the anonymity and accessibility of online surveys mean you have less control over who responds. in person. If your research focuses on a specific location, you can distribute a written questionnaire to be completed by respondents on the spot. For example, you could approach the customers of a shopping mall or ask all students to complete a questionnaire at the end of a class. Now, the advantages, you can screen respondents to make sure only people in the target population are included in the sample. And you can collect time and location specific data. For example, the opinions of a store's weekday customers. However, the sample size will be smaller, so this method is less suitable for collecting data on broad population. Interviews. Oral interviews are useful method for smaller sample sizes. They allow you to gather more in-depth information on people's opinions and preferences. You can conduct interviews by phone or in person. Advantages, you have personal contact with the respondents. So you know exactly who will be included in the sample in advance. You can clarify questions and ask for follow-up information when necessary. However, the lack of anonymity may cause respondents to answer less honestly, and there is more risk of researcher bias. Like questionnaires, interviews can be used to collect quantitative data. The researcher records each response as a category or rating and statistically analyzes the result. But they are more commonly used to collect qualitative data. The interviewee's full responses are transcribed and analyzed individually to gain a richer understanding of their opinions and feelings. Designing survey questions. Next, you need to decide which questions you will ask and how you will ask them. It is important to consider the type of questions, the content of the questions, the phrasing of the questions, the ordering and layout of the survey. Let us remember, kaya tayo survey para ma-answer natin yung ating research problem, para ma-achieve natin yung ating research aims, goals, and objectives. Dapat lahat ng question natin ay related dun sa ating research topic, sa ating research title. Okay? So, moving on. Forms of survey questions. There are two main forms of survey questions: open-ended and closed-ended. Many surveys use a combination of both. So what is the difference? Closed-ended questions give the respondents a predetermined set of answers to choose from. A closed-ended question can include a binary answer, a yes or no, agree or disagree, a scale. For example, a Likert scale with 5 points ranging from strongly agree, neither, strongly disagree, and then strongly disagree. There are 5 Likert, 5 scale. It can include a list of options with a single answer, a list of options with multiple answers possible. So these are for close-ended questions. Hindi na sila mahirapan mag-isip. They only just have to choose from a predetermined set of answers. So close-ended questions are best for quantitative research. So I expect everyone na magkaroon ng close-ended questions. At lahat ng option should provide for all possible answers. They provide you with numerical data that can be statistically analyzed to find patterns, trends, and correlations. Open-ended questions are best for qualitative research. This type of question has no predetermined answers to choose from. Instead, the respondent answers in their own words. Open questions are most common in interviews, but you can also use them in questionnaires. They're often useful as follow-up questions to ask for more detailed explanations of responses to the closed questions. The content of the survey questions. Yan. To ensure the validity and reliability of your results, ano ibig sabihin ito? Ibig sabihin, yung mga tanong mo ay appropriate. Hindi yan bias. It is objective. Na kung ano man ang sagot, ay pwede natin i-process, makakatulong for the achievement of our objective. You need to carefully consider each question in the survey. All questions should be narrowly focused with enough context for the respondent to answer accurately. Avoid questions that are not directly relevant to the survey's purpose. When constructing close-ended questions, ensure that the options cover all possibilities. Meaning, lahat ng possible answers dapat included doon. If you include a list of options that isn't exhaustive, you can add an other field. Kung wala sa options, meron ka options for others. And then, sabihin nila kung ano yung kanilang feedback. So, paano ba mag-phrase ng question? Paano nyo ba i-construct ang question? In terms of language, the survey question should be as clear and precise as possible. Tailor the questions to your target population, keeping in mind their level of knowledge of the topic. Kung kinakailang i-translate nyo yan sa Tagalog, sa Bisaya, o kung anumang vernacular, mas maganda para mas maintindihan ng respondents yung sagot nila ay maging makatotohanan. Use language that respondents will easily understand and avoid words with vague or ambiguous meanings. Make sure your questions are phrased neutrally with no bias towards one answer or another. Order of the survey question. The question should be arranged in a logical order. Start with easy, non-sensitive, close-ended questions that will encourage the respondents to continue. If the survey covers several different topics or themes, group together related questions. You can divide the questionnaire into sections to help respondents understand what is being asked in each part. For example, kanilang demographic profile. O yun ang part 1. Part 2, for example, if you're talking about their customer satisfaction, then part 2 would be questions relating to their experience on customer satisfaction. Let's say, 3 naman, part 3, kung ano man yung groupings ninyo ng topics. If a question refers back to or depends on the answer to a previous question, they should be placed directly next to one another. Reliability and validity are concepts used to evaluate the quality of research. They indicate how well a method, technique, or test measures something. Reliability is about the consistency of a measure, and validity is about the accuracy of a measure. It is important to consider reliability and validity when you are creating your research design, planning your methods, and writing up your results, especially in quantitative research. So let's look at the reliability and validity. What does it tell you? For reliability, it tells you the extent to which the results can be reproduced when the research is repeated under the same condition. So reliable ang question. Validity, the extent to which the results really measure what they are supposed to measure. So, valid ba ang question? Does it address the topic? Yon. How is it assessed? For reliability, by checking the consistency of results across time, across different observers, and across parts of the test itself. For validity, by checking how well the results corresponds to established theories and other measures of the same concept. So how do they relate? A reliable measurement is not always valid. Tandaan ha, hindi porke reliable, valid. The results might be reproducible, but they are not necessarily correct. And for validity, a valid measurement is generally reliable. If a test produces accurate results, they should be reproducible. So reliability, we say, it refers to how consistently a method measures something. If the same result can be consistently achieved by using the same methods under the same circumstances, the measurement is considered reliable. So for example, you measure the temperature of a liquid sample several times under identical conditions. The thermometer displays the same temperature every time. So the results are reliable kasi you can reproduce the measurement in a number of times and it gives the same result. So that makes reliable. A doctor uses a symptom questionnaire to diagnose a patient with a long-term medical condition. Several different doctors use the same questionnaire with the same patient but give different diagnoses. This indicates that the questionnaire has low reliability as a measure of the condition. Okay, so isa lang ang patient, iba-ibang doktor ang nag-test sa kanya using the questionnaire, symptoms questionnaire, pero iba-iba ang naging result. Ibig sabihin, yung questionnaire itself is unreliable. Validity refers to how accurately a method measures what it is intended to measure. If research has high validity, that means it produces results that correspond to real properties, characteristics, and variations in the physical or social world. High reliability is one indicator that a measurement is valid. If a measure or a method is not reliable, it probably isn't valid. Let's have a look at some examples. If the thermometer shows different temperature each time, even though you have carefully controlled conditions to ensure the sample's temperature stays the same, well, the thermometer is probably malfunctional and therefore its measurements are not valid. Kasi nga, hindi tama yung temperature na binibigay niya. If a symptom questionnaire results in a reliable diagnosis when answered at different times and with different doctors, this indicates that it has high validity as a measurement of the medical condition. So, kabaliktaran ito nung kanina. Maraming doktor, isang pasyente, isang gamit na survey questionnaire, iba-iba ang result. This time, sa symptom questionnaire results in a reliable diagnosis when answered at different times and with different doctors. This indicates that it has high validity as a measurement of the medical condition. That is validity. So let us see reliability versus validity. Reliability on its own is not enough to ensure validity. Even if a test is reliable, it may not actually reflect the real situation. The thermometer that you use to test the sample gives reliable results. However, the thermometer has not been calibrated properly, so the result is 2 degrees lower than the true value. Therefore, the measurement is not valid kasi hindi accurate yung kanyang result. Kapag hindi accurate ang result, hindi siya valid. A group of participants take a test designated to measure working memory. The results are reliable, but participants' scores correlates strongly with their level of reading comprehension. This indicates that the method might have low validity. The test may be measuring participants' reading comprehension instead of their working memory. Ibig sabihin lang yan, hindi nila iintindihan yung tanong. Kaya maaring apektado ang kanilang results. So, hindi mo sila tinetest dun sa actual topic. Tinetest mo sila kung paano ba sila kagaling mag-English, makaintindi ng topics. Dapat dapat naiintindihan nila yung questions. So they are measured based on the what is being measured, not on the other skills or knowledge. Okay, that ends my lecture. For the sources, you can visit these websites. Step-by-step guide to data collection, www.scripr.com, methodology and data collection. So how to do survey research, same website, www.scripr.com, methodology, survey research, and for reliability and validity, www.scripr.com, methodology, reliability versus validity. So thank you very much for joining, and if you have questions, you may raise them now.